I could be wrong.
Throwing that out there.
I
Got to
could be
help
wrong.
the people.
Hey, listen, Diggs and Dell, they look similar. Maybe he's...
I mean, this probably makes a lot of sense for why I'm picking so bad in the
Yeah,
NFL.
it probably does. Good evening, degenerates, and welcome back to another episode of DGen Hours. Week 3 NFL is upon us. We had an insane week 2, which we recapped in a couple episodes earlier this week.
Yeah.
But it was just chaos.
Yeah.
Shambles
and the
for me.
cards for
Upsets
sure
everywhere.
reflected that. Let's throw up the numbers right here. Only 2 of us were above 500, and it was just me and Mario by a game apiece. Ryan, a travesty, drops him below 50% on the year. And Mike, 3-8 last week to bring up his average quite significantly. It almost doubled his average. He's now 19% on the year picking games for NFL. So, in other words, the best pick in the entire sports betting industry.
Right now.
If you just fade Mike, you are hitting an 81% clip. You're paying off mortgages. Mike's feeding families. He's feeding children in Ghana. He's doing it all. He's a social worker. Mike works for you.
Man of the people.
All you have to do is fade Mike. So listen very closely to what this man has to say this week. And quickly, of course, the Mortal Parlay didn't hit. We know that. We talked about it in the last episode. We gave out another parlay. Watch the college football episode if you haven't, of course. And then at the end of this episode, we'll recap and tell you, the subscriber, what you need to do to potentially win $450 next week. We're picking one person. So moving on. Before we get to the next games, or the main games, I guess, we can quickly recap what happened in fantasy. Mario, what's your record for fantasy this year?
2-0.
We did not need to do this.
I'm 2-0 as well, actually. Congratulations. We're both undefeated, top of the league. Mike, you're 19% picking games.
I'm completely defeated.
What is your fantasy record?
I'm completely defeated instead of undefeated. I'm the opposite.
You're 0-2.
I'm a travesty.
So
I actually played Mike this week.
you did play Mike this week,
Yeah.
and I think you won.
Yeah, and I actually didn't even play a player.
yeah.
Keelan
Yeah.
Coleman. Shout out Keelan Coleman. 0 points.
Healthy
Yeah,
scratch.
he knows how to move around that field into double coverage.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Shout
Mike,
out
I mean,
Patrick Mahomes.
the start to this
being
NFL
trash
season for you,
and-
Mike, is just, it could not get worse, really. 0-2 in fantasy, you bet thousands of dollars on your fantasy games. You're not winning those. 19% picking, but for you, the viewer, if you're fading him, cash money, baby. Cold
It makes
hard
sense.
cash in your pocket.
It makes sense. I mean, the
loves to
universe
do
has a
it.
balance to it, and like things are going too well in college for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm leading the group in, betting percentages.
You are.
And also Texas #1 in the nation. So it's a balance. It's karma. It's yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
Dichotomy of things and
You're a real yin and yang
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
whoa,
Pause.
that's a little
First
racist.
game on the slate, huge game for me. Chargers at Steelers. Pittsburgh -1.5 total, a solid 36.5. I'm starting on this one, of course.
Yep.
Pittsburgh Steelers. The 2-0 Steelers against the 2-0 Chargers. Who would have thought, leading into the season, we're talking 2-0, 2-0
Yeah.
in this game. I love this game. No. I love this game.
Really?
I really love this game.
No, wait. Let me hear it.
Okay, I love this game.
Okay.
But let me tell you why. Steelers to the promised land.
The promise.
Let me say that one more time. Steelers to the promised land. Number 1 in the division, hardest division in football. Supposed to be the hardest division in football. This defense is the best defense in the NFL. By far. Not close. Not even close. Not a competition. TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the league, and he has
That's true.
separated himself by a margin, in
That's
my
true.
opinion. The rest of our defense, unbelievable. And Justin Fields at quarterback is doing what he needs to do. Not turn over the ball, complete passes, like out routes and slants when he needs to, and then throw it deep to George Pickens a couple times a game. It works beautifully. We can win a 13-6 game, 14-5, or 14-4, whatever. Like 2 safety. Like doesn't
14-5
matter what the
is
score is.
wild.
The other team is going to score less than 10 points no matter who we play. It's just going to happen. And this Chargers offense hasn't impressed me. They're good against like mediocre teams. That's fine. We're going to wreak havoc on Herbert, and Quentin Johnson ain't catching no 2 touchdowns against us. No way. J.K. Dobbins, good luck running against this defense. So Steelers -1.5. I don't pick totals in the NFL anymore because I just never win on them, and I've actually been pretty good at picking games over 50%. But I would lean under for sure if you're into that kind of thing, because the Steelers probably not scoring more than 14, and I think we're going to cover. So I don't think the Chargers are scoring very much.
I might be the.
Mike.
I was gonna say I might be the touch of death here. So I'm also gonna go with the Steelers 1.5.
I had a feeling. I had a
Yeah,
Shit.
in my opinion,
He would do this to me. It's such an angle.
But no, it's
like,
my
look at you.
actual.
Look at the way you're looking at me.
Yeah,
Just
it's,
fucking
Smiling ear to
Just-
ear.
yeah.
it's a win-win
just
for me regardless of what
closing his eyes,
happens.
just getting all angry at me, just like the Steelers because the Rams are ass.
Well, I mean that's it's definitely a thought in my mind that reoccurs.
So you say you're rooting for?
So I'm going for the Steelers here, minus
Damn it.
1.5. I think
it,
that the
Justin,
Chargers haven't really proven themselves, similar to what Tyler was saying. Conversely, I don't think that the Steelers are okay with Justin Fields being their quarterback. I think he is anemic. I think their entire offense is anemic as well.
He's anemic.
Yeah, I mean, he actually might have serious health problems that are underlaying, and we don't know about. And that could be contributing to his
Great play.
poor performance
Highest
as a
quarterback rating in the
career.
AFC.
But yes, in general, I
Yes,
think he is
players.
terrible. And I think
Yes.
that they are reliant completely on their defense, which is fantastic. And I think their defense is going to absolutely shut down the Chargers. This might be a blowout win for the Steelers. So Steelers all in play here. Easy bet to take.
I hate you. I just want you to know.
It's just what it is.
All right, Mario.
Those Steelers, look.
Um,
Don't
yeah,
touch it.
Steelers defense is. I wouldn't argue if you say they're the best in the league.
They are.
Fantastic.
Through 2 weeks, they've looked the best in the league. So initially, I was thinking I would go with the Steelers minus 1.5 because I really like this number. But then, I don't know, something about it seems like this line just seems a little fishy. Like there's something underneath that they're not telling you about.
Something stinks.
And listen, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm not impressed with the Steelers' offense at all.
Same.
This
I am.
defense,
Best offense I've ever seen.
Wow.
this defense is amazing, but I think this offense is on borrowed time. Not saying that the Steelers are going to lose a whole bunch of games, but in big games, I wouldn't trust this team.
Can't blow it out.
And I don't know why, but this Chargers team is playing different under Jim Harbaugh.
He's just a football guy.
He is a football guy.
Yeah.
No, he is a football
Such a
guy.
good coach.
And I think the deciding factor for me just comes down to I think the Chargers have a solid defense. There's nothing to write home about, but it's definitely like middle of the pack. They have some players: Derwin James, Nick Bosa, Khalil Mack. Steelers defense is better, but I think offensively, Chargers have a lot more options because they just have a way better quarterback. They have been running the ball well, but the thing is, if that doesn't work, you can still put the ball in Herbert's hand and he can still win you a game. Whereas I just don't see that with the Steelers and Justin Fields.
I do.
He did play good last week, but he didn't really have to do too much. When Fields has to do something, that's when I think he struggles. So I'm gonna take Chargers plus 1.5.
All right. Well, there you have it. Go Steelers. Next game, big game. Texans at Vikings. Who would have thought this is a big game, too?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, these teams are both moving
crazy.
around. Houston, the away team, minus 2.5, total 46.5. Michael, starting with you here. How's CJ Stroud going to look in this one?
Yeah, guys, gotta preface this with I'm gonna be a little bit biased in that I have been rooting actively for CJ Stroud since preseason. I think he is amazing. I think Nico Collins has proven over the past 2 weeks that he's an absolute baller. Tank Dell,
You proved that last year, too, but yeah.
yeah, that's true. Tank Dell, he gets a decent amount of receptions, which is actually a lot, more than I thought he would. And the Vikings coming off a big upset win with the 49ers, I'm pretty impressed with that. But overall, I'm just going to go with Texans here. I think CJ Stroud has what it takes to just, outright win it. So Houston minus 2.5, and I think they win by probably 10 points.
Actually, I'm taking Houston, too, but I do want to ask how many receptions you thought he was going to have if this was more. How many receptions do you think he's had this season
Tank Dell.
in 2 games?
I mean, he got
You said more than
targets.
You thought. Okay, well,
Targets.
how many catches do you think he's had?
Probably 6.
He's had 4.
Oh, that's
3
close.
receptions in the first game and 1 reception for -3 yards last week.
Yeah. No, I could be wrong.
Throwing that out there. You
I
got to
could be
help
wrong.
the people.
Hey, listen, Diggs and Dell, they look similar. Maybe he's.
I mean, this probably makes a lot of sense for why I'm picking so bad in the
Yeah,
NFL.
it probably does. But I'm riding with you on this one, too. We're in sync so far. Houston minus 2.5. They're just
Hey.
better. Sorry, Vikings. I mean, Vikings have looked fantastic so far. Sam Darnold's looking unbelievable. Justin Jefferson, great. That whole team's really playing well. Aaron Jones, too. But I just think Houston's a better football team. I think the line tells you that. They're on the road. They're still 2.5-point favorites in the NFL. I think this is where we kind of fall back to reality for the Vikings a bit. Not saying it's a blowout, but I love the 2.5 here. I'd say at least like, a 6-7 point win for Houston. And I really like the way CJ Stroud's throwing the ball, especially to Nico Collins. Like you said, he's balling.
Yeah. I'm only going Texans because
Consensus.
Bang.
It's a consensus. It's a consensus.
Boom.
It's not
Boom.
a confident consensus. Only because I think Justin Jefferson, even if he goes in this game, is going to be a little banged up. I mean,
he loves getting injured week 3.
him fully healthy actually would be on the Vikings here.
You think he moves it that much? Wow.
Him being healthy because he's such a good player, and also like the threat he poses is going to make defenses like have to adjust and account for him.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that being said, with I don't get me wrong, CJ Stroud's amazing, but he's looked a little bit underwhelming. He makes some throws where I'm like, that's top 3 in the league, and then he makes a lot of decisions where I'm like, what were you seeing?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's been the story. Honestly, we mentioned it earlier in the NFL episode with a lot of quarterbacks this season.
Yeah.
I think last year, like this would have been like the way he played. This would be a game where I would be fully like all in on the Texans. But I still think even with a banged up Justin Jefferson, I would not be surprised if this game was like down to the wire. But I'm gonna go Texans because I think Jet is a little injured.
Really quick, just based on or just going off of what you were saying about CJ Stroud not looking like as good as he did last year. I think that's really dependent on Joe Mixon. Like we saw Joe Mixon had much less of an efficient week last week than he did opening week. And I think, it brings balance to an offense, and I think that it's just a game changer of a factor there.
No, I disagree. Because the first week I thought CJ Stroud played worse, and that was Joe Mixon's best week.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely hasn't been. I mean, CJ's thrown for 235 and then 260, and then 1 touchdown last week and 2 touchdowns the week before with 0 picks. So it's pretty pedestrian, but he's not making mistakes.
It's not bad either.
No, but
Or
like,
they're not capitalizing on his
He
mistakes.
he had 2 interceptions called back with penalty. He
Yeah,
had
I
one
was going to say he hasn't been capitalizing on a
interception
mistake,
that
yeah.
was literally like an Isaiah Likely toe away
that's
from like
true.
it was
Yeah.
initially ruled an interception and then they reviewed it and the guy's toe
Yeah.
was out. Like he's had a lot of throws where it's
No, I
like
see that.
one of these is going to happen. And all those things I just mentioned were in the first week, not last week.
No, fair enough. All right, well, we're riding on the Texans here.
Yep, Texans.
Next game, big game, Eagles at Saints. So the Eagles, who just dropped one of the Falcons in the Saints division, now they're going into New Orleans, probably the hottest team in football. This line moved pretty big. Before the Monday night Eagles game, the Eagles were 1.5 point favorites. After the game, New Orleans now 1.5 point favorites at home, total 49.5. Mario, we talked about the Saints earlier in the week in the recap, talking about how well they're playing.
Yep.
Do you think they keep it up here with a home game against Philly?
I think we're going to play very, very well. I wouldn't let that Monday night game that the Eagles dropped to the Falcons fool you. They're still a better team than the Falcons, and I think any one of us up here could have coached that game to a win.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni knows how to lose a game.
Yeah, he knows how to throw the ball and not waste 40 seconds off the clock.
Yeah.
That being said, I think we are a little bit in stride right now. So I do like us in the spot. It's not a big number. It's essentially just us pulling out a win. So, I'll go with the Saints minus 1.5 at home. But, I mean, this game, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, so I actually changed my pick on this. So I thought the Eagles being road favorites in the hottest team in the NFL's place was a telltale sign where everyone's going to be on the Saints, and then I can take the Eagles as a sharp line as favorites. But this line shifting kind of showed me where the money immediately just flew into in the since the Monday night game. And so I'm going to ride the hot hand here. Give me the Saints minus 1.5 here. I feel like, this Eagles team really hasn't figured it out since around like week 12 last year. They've just been bad.
A.J. Brown will be out this game as well.
I mean, yeah, there's no way around it. They've been really bad since then. They've won, one game in the last 8 months?
They're
Football or something. Like, they're so bad.
Such a confusing team because they don't play It's not like they're playing bad. Like, they'll play good, but then, like, make
They
really
just can't
dumb
close it out.
decisions to lose games.
Yeah, I don't know what, there's probably a lot of things wrong with this team, but their secondary is miserable, and Derek Carr has been cooking people. So the Eagles defense really not, putting the most insane amount of pressure on people, and then when they quarterback has time, they can pick them apart. You saw Kirk Cousins that last 2-minute drive,
Yeah.
standing alone,
No
just
timeouts.
boom, 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 picking apart the secondary, no one getting touched.
A minute,
You know,
15
Darius
on the
Slay getting
clock
cooked for the
and-
touchdown by
yeah.
Drake London at the end of the game. I think these Saints receivers cook. They've been playing well, and Kamara's been on his stride too, so they'll have to watch out for the run. So I like the Saints actually winning big here now that this line's moved. I'm on the Saints.
Well, back-to-back consensus pick.
Wow.
Saints -1.5.
Boom, 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 boom.
I had mentioned this. If you watched the recap videos earlier this week, I made a comparison with the 49ers to the Eagles. And the reason is A.J. Brown being out. I think they lose a massive part of their offense, very obviously.
Yeah.
But because of that, I think it allows defenses to hone in on both Saquon and Devontae Smith. I think it makes it, it's just less of a burden and
One less thing to worry about. for
Exactly.
defenses. Yeah.
Exactly.
AJ's
And the
out a
defense
couple
as all.
weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's out a couple
He's out
weeks.
a couple weeks.
But I mean the Saints defense, who are already playing unbelievably, allowing only 19 to the Cowboys, which is super impressive. Including they have CeeDee Lamb, who's obviously better than Devontae Smith. So if you're just gonna look at it from that perspective, they have them locked up. And then just on the ground, I think they're better offensively than the Eagles right now. So Saints all the way.
Well, consensus pick. I mean, me and Mike have just picked 3 games in a row the same. So I'm either, Mike's either bouncing back or I'm fucked in the ass.
Bang.
Next game, a game between two teams. This was supposed to be like the most marquee game of the week. I mean, we got Ravens at Cowboys.
Yeah.
You look at this week 0 or preseason, you're looking at this
Yeah.
game like, oh, wow, undefeated
This is
teams.
insane.
No, this is the 0-2 Ravens at the 1-1 Cowboys who just got slapped by the Saints. So
Yeah.
these teams are both trying to figure this out. Baltimore's -1.5 on the road, totals 49.5. I'll go ahead and start here. I'm taking the Cowboys. I took the Cowboys as my mortal last week and was very disappointed in them. This game will tell me everything I need to know about these teams. I think the Ravens, earlier in the week we had a segment where we were talking about the team that we were, hitting the red alert button. The Ravens are my team, where it was, I'm scared. Well, I'm actually happy about it, but if you're a Ravens fan, you should be scared about the way this team's looking. They cannot throw the ball at all. And that's how the Cowboys were cooked on the run and the air last week, but if the Cowboys know they don't really have to focus that much on the passing game, I think they'll be better against the run. Mm-hmm. And so I do think they'll be able to have a better defensive game against this Ravens team. And this Ravens defense has been fine, but they're allowing like 20-something to Gardner Minshew, and the Raiders allowing a rookie tight end who's very good, and Brock Bowers, to just like torch them up.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything to impress me from this Ravens team. So, and they also barely lost to a Chiefs team, but the Chiefs haven't looked fantastic either. I don't know. It's a weird season in the NFL, but I'm going Cowboys, home dogs here against the Ravens. I think they win outright. But this game, I'm not hammering this because I think this is a very figure it out game for both these teams. So I think one of these teams will look a lot more dominant than the other.
I'm actually going to go Ravens -1.5 here, only because I just cannot picture like a John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson team losing 3 straight games in a row.
It's hard. I couldn't picture them starting 0-2 though.
I couldn't picture that. That being said, that one thing that the Raiders have that the Cowboys don't have is like consistent quarterback pressure. I mean, Max Crosby, obviously TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the league.
And Christian Wilkins, they both on the same side. It's just been
That's what I'm saying. Max Crosby is not like any slouch. He's probably top 3 easily. Like him, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, maybe Myles Garrett, somewhere in there as well. But like he's elite, and he was causing all sorts of problems. I don't see Micah Parsons having the same impact. And one thing about the Saints game last week was our offensive line just kind of bullied the Cowboys. I think Lamar Jackson obviously has the threat of running, but then, you have the O-line and Derrick Henry running as well. I think that this is a game where the Ravens can kind of control possession. I don't know how they're going to really account for Lamar, and I don't think the DBs are that good for the Cowboys. So I think, yes, Zay Flowers is like their main receiver, but he's hard to deal with. And then you have like Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. These guys can get open. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this Ravens team just pulling out a win, and the Cowboys are not. I don't know. They're
Anything special.
the Ravens were your team with the red alert. The Cowboys are my team.
Yeah,
with the
we're
red
on
alert.
opposite sides of this.
So-
Of this story. No, that makes sense. Mike, be the tiebreaker here. Please tell me you're actually not on the Cowboys. Or
I
else
was
I'm
just
fucked.
gonna say this is finally where we break our
There we go.
stride
Alright.
together.
Let's go.
I have the Ravens -1.5 here against the Cowboys, and my biggest determining factor for that was last week they got 11 penalties for 109 yards. I think that is the most undisciplined you'll ever see this team, and very obviously, I mean, that's going to be costly for first downs. That costs them for, on both sides of the ball, actually,
Yeah.
allowing first downs or gaining first
Yeah,
downs.
it's a shitload of penalties.
It's
It's
terrible.
like
It
what you
kill-
see in like a bad college game.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's literally like just playing with super undisciplined players, which is what it was. And I mean, it kills momentum. I don't think they're going to be like that this game.
Yeah.
They're going to be a lot tighter with everything. And, I think the Ravens kind of get back on track and start winning the season. So,
Yeah.
Ravens
No,
minus
to that
1.5
point, I
here.
kind of think like last week the Ravens kind of blew that win, whereas last week the Cowboys never had it.
No, they were
Yeah.
So-
cursed from the beginning. And an interesting thing also, I don't know the stat on this, but the Cowboys' regular season home winning record was crazy.
Yeah, and then
year
it
was
just
so-
broke.
And, well, I was going to say it just broke, but when's the last time the Cowboys have been home underdogs to a winless team?
That's true.
That's pretty interesting. Like,
But the winless team is the Ravens.
sure, but even home underdogs in general. The
Home
Cowboys usually win at home,
Yeah,
and they're
that's
home
true.
underdogs. So, maybe that's the book's telling you something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, last game we're going to talk about, and then we'll get into all the bets we're taking on our cards. Chiefs at Falcons. So this is an interesting one. Obviously, Kansas City beat the Ravens in the last second with the toe on the line, and then beat the Bengals last second with a 4th and 16 pass interference call, a ghost call. So Chiefs are 2-0, as the NFL wants it.
Chiefs and the refs.
The Chiefs and the refs.
Yeah.
They're going into a Falcons team on the road that's, they're 1-1, but nice win against Philadelphia last week. Kansas City's 4.5-point road favorites. The total's 46.5. So, Mario, I'm going to you here.
Yeah.
I know we both felt a kind of way about the call with the Bengals last week for the Chiefs. It's kind of hard.
Absurd.
The Chiefs aren't covering a lot, but they don't really lose games. The ref kind of makes sure of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this game will be kind of similar to the Eagles game, except Andy Reid is not a terrible coach like Nick Sirianni, so he'll find a way to, manage this game to a win. So I do think the Falcons can stay within this number, surprisingly. But yeah, I there's no way I see the Falcons winning this game. Just the Chiefs almost at times seem unbeatable because even when they lose, they
win.
are
They
given a
win,
win.
yeah.
I mean, that one thing I just wanted to bring up about Patrick Mahomes since he's been a starter in the NFL in 2018, he's had 17 interceptions called back for defensive penalties. That is the most by far of any
Yeah.
quarterback. We get on Josh Allen a lot about having the most turnovers since he's entered the league. Mahomes is only 10 picks behind him. And I mean, 17
doesn't get-
interceptions, if half of those go one way, he's right up there with Josh Allen. He's
Yeah.
been turning over the ball a lot. So I don't know. He hasn't impressed me. Maybe this week he comes out and absolutely dissects this team, this Falcons team. But I'm going to lean on the Falcons staying within the number, Chiefs winning.
Yeah, so you're taking the Falcons plus the points, though.
Yeah, plus the points.
Yeah, so I'm all over the Falcons, and I like the money line here, and I don't care what the refs can do about it. You're totally right. Mahomes, game 1, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Game 2, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's a 1-to-1, touchdown interception ratio this year. Not good. Mahomes is not playing good. I don't know if it's a receiver thing, but he's just not hitting receivers the same way. Kelsey's not nearly as effective as he has been in prior years. I think it's showing.
Yep.
Rashid Rice is fine. Xavier Worthy's really fast. I actually like him a lot. But they don't have, Rashid Rice can be the one on this team. I mean, we've seen the one in the Super Bowl last year with it. But it's not a dominant one.
The problem is they need Kelsey.
I was going to say, Kelsey's always been the one.
Yep.
So, Rashid Rice was the wide receiver one, but he wasn't the one option in the passing game. So, when he is the one option in the passing game, their passing game looks like shit.
Yep.
And Kelsey is just getting older. I mean, he's just not moving the same. He's not open as frequently. They're not throwing him the ball as much. So, I have a lot of concerns about this Kansas City team. Reffing or the officiating aside, this Falcons team's a weird one. I think their offense is actually pretty stacked, but they're not using them correctly yet.
Yeah.
I think they
They're
start.
figuring it out.
I think they start to figure it out. Bijan had a great first half on Monday night against the Eagles.
Yeah.
I know the Eagles defense isn't great, and they're starting to get the ball to Kyle Pitts a little more. Drake London caught the game-winning touchdown. So I think they're starting to catch somewhat of a stride, and I do like this Falcons secondary a lot.
I would.
The Falcons secondary is really good. Headlined by A.J. Terrell, old Clemson guy who just got absolutely paid last year, one of the highest cornerback paid in the league.
Wow.
And so he's absolutely balling right now too, and he showed up against the Eagles. So I like the Falcons in a win here at home, so I love the +4.5.
Don't worry, Ty. We're right back in stride together.
Yikes.
Taking the Falcons -4.5. I think this is actually a much
Consensus.
Consensus.
Whoa, 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 whoa. We are dialed.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all in step. So we either
Good stuff, boys. Good stuff, boys.
we sink or swim together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the way of the road.
I hope I'm not an anchor. Man, I really hope I'm not an anchor.
Now bounce back week, Mike.
Yeah,
Bounce
bounce
back
back
week.
week.
Don't
Bounce
fade
back
Mike this week, or else you're fading all of us.
Yeah, bang.
Maybe they just do that anyways, but fuck.
Anyways, sorry.
Mike almost died right there.
Yeah.
Hey, he almost drowned. He's the anchor.
Yeah, he can't,
I'm going in the water.
he can't swim.
Head above the water. Come on.
But I think this is going to be a really, really close game. I think Kansas City always kind of has a way of just sticking in any situation. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. It's he gives himself a chance.
Sticking in any situation.
Finds a way to stick it in any situation.
I mean,
You know?
y'all have dirty minds.
No, he finds a way.
But
Oh, man.
similarly to what
Uh.
Tyler was saying about the Falcons, I think their defense is looking really, really good. And maybe I was fooled because the Eagles, don't have A.J. Brown. They're really only focusing on Saquon and Devontae Smith. But, in my opinion, I think they look really stout. And Bijan is getting perhaps overutilized and is going to be put into an injury risk situation because, in my opinion, they run him every down that they possibly can.
I don't think they run him enough. That's surprising that you think they run him a lot.
That's my opinion. But I actually think that they run him too much. I think they need to be a little bit more conservative and a little bit more balanced in their play calling. With that being said, I still think the Falcons and their defense mainly is what pulls them out of this game. So they might not actually win the game, but they'll stick within the number for sure.
Yeah, so quickly, just to give some clarity there, Bijan week 1 had 18 carries for 68 yards with 5 catches. Last game, he had 14 for 97 and 4. So he had, 23 touches the first week and 18 the next week. So I could see both ways. I could see why they should feed him more, but they're also definitely giving them the ball. Now it's time for the cards. This is every bet we're taking all week. Mike, kick us off. Let's hear the bets you're taking. 19% of the year.
Yeah, well, since I am so shit at picking NFL, I have come up with a new strategy, and that is go less than 10 games. So we're going with 8 games this week.
I knew he was going to go no game.
And we're also not doing any totals. We are only doing spreads for this week. Next week, we're only doing totals, and then we're going to figure out which side we're better at, and then we'll move forward for the rest of the year after that.
It's good.
So, moving into it, starting with the games we already talked about. Steelers -1.5 against the Chargers.
Wait, so I'm like your whole card already.
Yeah, I love
We're
it.
lined up on everything.
Texans -2.5 against the Vikings. Saints -1.5 against the Eagles. Ravens -1.5 against the Cowboys. And that's all the games that I have on my card that we talked about.
You're not writing Falcons?
No, I'm not writing the
That was
Falcons.
consensus. All right.
Yeah. Buccaneers -6.5 against the Broncos. 49ers -7.5 against the Rams. I love you, Rams, but we are shit without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. That is just the God honest truth. Dolphins +6.5 against the Seahawks. Down with the birds. And Bills -5.5 against the Jaguars. Sorry, the prince who was not promised. And the prince who will not be. Down with Trevor Lawrence. That's my card.
All right.
Dude, we have the same pick
I'm
on
kind of
every single pick.
me and Mike. The games we talked about are the same, but not after that. All right, here we go.
Bounce back.
Starting off hot.
Dang.
Pittsburgh Steelers -1.5.
Woo!
All in. Max best bet. You got to bet that. I mean, Justin Fields. That's all I gotta say. Justin Fields.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I used to think Trevor was the chosen one. It might be Justin. Texans -2.5. Saints -1.5. Cowboys +1.5. And the Falcons +4.5. Those are the games we already talked about on my card. I got a few more for you here. 49ers -7.5 at the Rams. 75-point victory in this one. The Rams are poverty. The worst team in LA by far. So bet the 49ers. Bet the 49ers. Bet the 49ers. Titans minus 2.5 at the Packers. So, or against the Packers. I think they're at home. The Packers are poverty without Jordan Love. They won last week. They're not going to win this week. Will Levis, maybe doesn't do some sort of retard fumble. But
Wow. Well, he's benched.
either way, is he?
No,
Yeah.
he's not.
He's officially benched.
What?
What?
Is he out?
When did he get benched?
Will Levis
Yes.
got benched this morning. Oh, I'm thinking of Bryce Young. I'm so sorry.
Dude, I had a heart attack right
No,
there.
I'm
I
so
was like,
sorry.
F- did I
Was
just
he
put the
benched for
Titans?
who?
No, I'm so sorry.
Dude, it'd be sick if I could get through a card, huh? Titans minus 2.5 against the Packers. It's really cool because their quarterback's still playing. Thanks, Mike, for the heads up stats.
You're welcome.
This is why he's 19%. He's f***ing dialed. Browns minus 6.5 against the Giants. Deshaun's back. He's back. He got
Even
the
against Magic Dan?
no, against Magic. Yeah, I mean, this is an all-time duel
Yeah.
at quarterback. I mean, Deshaun got the charges against him. We're not going to comment on that. Free Deshaun. He's back, playing well. He's dialed. It was just his birthday. Posted another sick Instagram photo flexing with a watch right after the charges came out. So shout out my Clemson brother. And they're going to for sure cover this number. Raiders minus 5.5 against the Panthers. Look. This Panthers team might be the worst team in NFL history. They
Yeah.
should be relegated to college where they wouldn't even be a top 12 ranked team. They wouldn't make the college football playoff right now.
That's not true.
It is. Bryce Young is terrible. He's the one who got benched. Andy Dalton's not going to help him.
I mean, Bryce Young, if we're talking college quarterbacks, he's up there.
yeah,
he's
but
not
that was
good.
before his mental was destroyed by the dumpster fire that is Carolina.
Yeah, that is
5.5 is not enough for this Raiders team. This defense is going to cause nightmares for the Red Rocket and Andy Dalton. So Raiders minus 5.5. Cardinals plus 3 against the Lions. I like what I'm seeing from the Cardinals here.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is back in a big way. So Cardinals plus 3. The Jags plus 5.5 at the Bills. Look, all right. Trevor's not been good, but he's still the prince who was promised.
No.
It's not the prince who's here. It's the prince who was promised. It's a prophecy, and he's built to fulfill that. So I'm going to keep believing in the man with the best hair in the league, Trevor Lawrence, plus 5.5
He's good hair.
in Buffalo.
Surprising.
And last, I'm going with my favorite rookie, Jaden Daniels, Commanders plus 8.5 at the Bengals. Jaden Daniels better than Joe Burrow, so okay. I like LSU quarterbacks, and I like this one more.
Okay, fair enough. Starting with the games we already talked about. I'm actually going Chargers plus 1.5. Sorry, Tyler. Sorry, Ryan, who's not here. Texans minus 2.5 against the Vikings. Saints minus 1.5 against the Eagles. Ravens minus 1.5 against the Cowboys. And Falcons plus 4.5 against the Chiefs. Now, for the games we have not talked about, I am also going Browns minus 6.5 against the Giants. Listen, it's going to be, like you said, duel of the ages for quarterback, but I like the Browns in this spot. I like Deshaun.
Over Magic Dan.
Over Magic Dan.
Yeah.
Bears plus 1.5 against the Colts.
Ooh,
That
what a
won't
dirty
hit.
game.
Dirty
won't
game.
hit.
I
No
didn't
one
want
wants.
to pick it. I didn't want to pick it. I didn't want that.
No one wants to go in these trenches.
No,
okay?
I don't want to go down there.
I'm going in these trenches.
You're going down.
I'm
Head
going
first.
Down. Head first. I gotta see what's in there.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be like a Vietnamese war
Can we
trap.
edit Mario crawling through war trenches right there? while
Yeah.
I say
No,
that?
that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I'm investigating. I'm hands and knees on the ground right now.
Nice.
I warned you guys about this Colts team, and I'm going to continue warning. And this Bears defense is better than you think. Bucks minus 6.5 against the Broncos. Bo Nix. That's all I got to say.
Oof.
Shout out Bo Nix. And shout out Baker.
Yeah.
But not too much because, down with the Bucks.
Yeah, down.
Dolphins plus 6.5 against the Seahawks. Listen, Tua's out,
They're
but Mike
playing for him.
McDaniel is a good coach. He'll figure out something to keep this game close and keep Tyreek involved. Cardinals, like you said, plus 3 against the Lions. I like what I'm seeing from Kyler.
I like it.
Kyler's looking dangerous.
Yeah.
49ers minus 7.5 against the Rams. Listen,
bet.
all these injuries.
must bet.
Yeah, must bet. Bills minus 5.5 against the Jags. Listen, I know you like the Prince.
Who was promised?
He's not start off hot. Similar to my King Joe Burrow. It might take a few weeks to hit their stride. you know?
Yeah.
And finally, game of the week. The two best quarterbacks going at it. The two Heismans, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow. I mean, this is going to be a game of the ages, game of the
You
century.
just bet the over?
The over is an absolute must bet. Don't even know what the total is, but you just talked me into it.
Yeah, I was going to say, these are your two quarterbacks. You just got to bet the over.
And listen,
48.5.
48 and a
Add it
half,
to your card.
add it to my card. And listen, Joe Burrow is going to lead this team to a victory, but Jaden Daniels is going to hang in there because he's a Heisman. He's a Tiger.
Yeah.
Commanders plus 8.5.
There it is. There you
Wow.
have it. I like the Commanders. I like the way Jaden Daniels is
Commies.
moving.
The
But yeah, there you
commies.
have it. There's the cards. For the Mortal Parlay, if you liked the video, or if you like the video, if you're subscribed, and if you comment down below anything, you could say fade Mike. You can say, which Ed has been doing. Shout out Ed. He's been fading Mike. He said he has paid his mortgage and his rent 5 times over.
Yeah. Fuck you, Ed.
Actually,
Shout
really
out.
happy for him. He's gonna start a family soon.
Yeah, he's starting a family, settling down, all off fading Mike.
Hey, wait. Cameraman Kev, put it on me real quick. Fuck you, Ed.
We're going to blurt that out. Ed, you didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Mike said he loves you. And the
definitely
Mortal
did.
Parlay this week, all you have to do, like I said, comment, be a subscriber, like the video. We're going to pay someone, if these 3 bets hit, $450.
Bang.
The parlay this week, Ryan is not in because he was 0-for-3 in Mortals, is the
Relegated.
USC Trojans minus 5.5
Down
against
with
Michigan.
Michigan.
The Ohio State game over 51.5.
Over.
And the Akron Zips.
Zips.
You know,
Plus
with 27.5 in South Carolina. So
Sharp.
all college
Bang.
games.
So sharp.
So this is an NFL podcast, but you got to tune in on Saturday to see what happens in the college games, see if you hit the mortal, and if you did, you got to spam the comments.
It'll be
You
a
gotta let
great
us know.
Sunday because we'll choose who gets paid on Sunday.
Yeah, and we'll
you
pay
know.
someone out, and you'll get
Bang.
extra money to gamble with. So
See?
it's
There you go.
amazing. Everything's
Win,
great.
win, win, win.
But yeah,
Sunday.
Mario, if the people didn't just hear it, tell them what they got to do before they exit out and go watch
it.
an amazing weekend of college and pro football.
Tell
I
'em.
mean,
Tell
if
'em.
you didn't hear what Tyler just said and
Free
you're
money.
not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. Click
money.
that subscribe button.
Do it.
Free money. Literally
money.
just click, cha-ching, $450.
Ching, ching.
Leave a like, leave a comment. Fade Mike, whatever, or
Fade Mike.
Go Ed. Who dat? Who's the best team in the NFL? I don't know. Let us know.
Let us know.
Turn that notification bell on.
Ding!
Share this video with a friend,
Do it.
and we'll see you next week.
We'll
We'll see you next week.